Okay, my estranged adult children who have children who are either going through that shared parenting with your ex, or you're in a fortunate situation where you can co-parent. What's the difference? Well, shared parenting means that you both have common children, but there's very little cooperation. And beyond that, there might be intentional lack of cooperation. We'll just put it that way. And co-parenting means exactly what it is. And I really dislike when we just refer to it in this blanket way of co-parenting when not everybody has a situation, and many people, and particularly if you're a survivor of narcissistic abuse and you married the love you know, oftentimes you end up in divorce situations that are high conflict, and the children are very much in the middle of that. So this is a question to all of you out there who are estranged from your parents and have children who you are not giving them access to. However, your ex is facilitating a relationship. So this person left a comment on one of my videos asking, how do you deal with that? How do you stop that? How do you stop your ex from maybe being manipulated by the parents you're no contact with? Or how do you stop the access to your children altogether? And there's not a simple answer. It really depends on the state of the relationship you have with your ex, and whether or not you're coming together as people who are parenting, co-parenting your children. So if you're co-parenting your children and you're getting along, well, the answer should be pretty simple, right? That you sit down and you say, listen, we need to make decisions for our children together. These people that I'm no contact with are not your family. They are not your parents. And it is not up to you to give them access to our children when I'm letting you know that they aren't emotionally safe people for our children. They're not role modeling the kind of love that we should want our children to be exposed to, and having a talk with them and not worrying so much about whether or not they're being manipulated. And one of the things that I tell people when they're giving access to the parent that they're no longer in a relationship with because they feel like they're doing something wrong to the parent, even they feel guilty, like, well, you know, I just want them to have that experience just because I can't have a relationship, kind of thing. And some estranged parent out there is going to come for me. Bring it. I'm good. I'll respond to you. No problem. The bottom line is, to some estranged parent out there who comes for me, this is what I'm going to say to you right out of the gate as a very blanket statement. If you can't show love and respect to the parent of your grandchildren, you don't deserve access to your grandchildren, because you're not prioritizing their needs, you're prioritizing your own needs. And when we have children, we're supposed to prioritize their needs. We're supposed to think about how things will age. We're responsible for the way that we role model relationships to them. And so when you can't get along with the child that you brought into the world, a lot of beeping out there, I wonder why. Anyway, when you can't get along with the child that you brought into the world as they come into adulthood, what you're doing is you're showing your grandchild that love doesn't have to be kind. It doesn't have to be respectful. It doesn't have to include, respecting boundaries and feelings and things like that. You're modeling a behavior that you like them, but not their parent, which makes them question if there's something wrong with their parent, which makes them question as they internalize who they are based on who their parents are, if there's something wrong with them. It isn't this black and white thing that people try to make it. Well, I don't get along with you, but I'm a great grandmother. You're not, or a grandfather. You're not. If you aren't modeling healthy behavior, just because you're doing the things like, buying the cake and the cookies and the gifts, and that is not a great grandparent. A great grandparent is a grandparent who recognizes that they have a role in that child's life to model for them what healthy, wonderful, unconditional, beautiful love looks like, not toxicity. So we'll push that aside. I'm sure someone's still going to come for me. I don't really care. A little story time. My daughter's ex-husband at one point in time was trying to do exactly what this person who asked the question is talking about. He was going to take my grandchildren to see my mother. And my daughter was, as an adult, no contact with my mother. To back up a little bit, I went no contact when my eldest daughter was around 6 years old. I was in my early 20s, and my son was around 2.5-ish. My daughter had a foundational relationship with my mother. Being the golden child, that was a very fun relationship. When she became a young adult, 18-ish, 19, she sought out a relationship with my mother and really wanted to have a relationship with my grandmother. At that time, she did not have the awareness around the details of the abuse and the danger of these particular people. So, for example, she didn't know how my grandmother was involved in the emming that happened at the hands of my grandfather. I didn't even really come to terms with that and really understanding how much a part of that she was until a couple of years ago. She didn't know about any of it at all, though, at some point, and at least when she was 18, 19, she didn't know. As she got older, those topics came up, but as a child, there was no reason for her to be exposed to that information. So anyway, my daughter had a relationship, my bangs are driving me crazy. Anyway, my daughter had a relationship with my biological mother, who I've been no contact with for over 30 years, and my grandmother until she passed away. And eventually my mother did enough toxic garbage to my daughter that she chose no contact with her. So as she chose no contact with her because of her behaviors towards my daughter, she got to see with her own eyes. My daughter was like, well, I don't want to expose my kids to them either, my grandchildren. So that relationship was done. And at some point in time, she got to my ex-son-in-law. And she did the manipulation, probably threw a little fake money around. And I say fake money because my mother is a scammer. She is a convicted criminal. She sold fake handbags. That's what she got arrested for and convicted of. I don't mean one or two. I mean, like, she had a ring. Okay. She was sued for over $500,000 by a huge fashion house and around just under $200,000, I think, by another huge fashion house. I mean, go big or go home, right? So knowing that my mother is a convicted criminal, he was still going to expose my grandchildren, and my grandchildren had already been raised enough, old enough to go, well, we don't really like her or want to be around her and don't want to take the time for that. And they have his parents, who they love very much. His parents have been very good to them. So they do have a set of grandparents from him. And obviously I'm the grandmother, but I mean, kids don't need grandparents and great-grandparents. On top of, they need healthy people. On top of that, they need loving people. On top of that, they had plenty of family in their life to begin with. So the reason my daughter became aware of the fact that her ex-husband wanted to take them down to see my mother was because they told my daughter, we don't want to go. We don't have a relationship with her. We don't like what we've heard of her. We just don't feel the need to connect with her. And I would say they were probably maybe 11, 12-ish years old at this point. And so my daughter, obviously, well, maybe not obviously, she called me for parenting advice. I just dance about that because I'm so happy that I have that kind of relationship with my daughter. And I told her, look, you can't control these situations, but you can talk to him about it and ask him what it is about that makes him want to take the kids there. And as push came to shove, it was like he felt bad for her. And this happens a lot. And what I tell parents is, no, you need to feel whatever you feel for your children. They are the priority. They are the innocents in this situation. So if this person is saying, I miss them and I need them and I want them and they're going to miss me and all this, it's got to be a conversation around, yeah, but how does that serve our children, that we're responsible for the way that they grow up navigate the world and choose relationships. What impact does this have on them? If you have a relationship where it's not reasonable with your ex, where it's not good communication, where you're shared parenting, not co-parenting, unfortunately, you may have to go the court route. Sometimes there's no way around that. To be able to create some rules around visitation, around who the children are exposed to. And I don't know how that works. So if anybody out there has been in this situation, this is where the question comes in. How did you handle it and what was the outcome? Please put it in the comment section. I'm going to tag the person who asked this question so that they can see what has worked and what hasn't worked. And if you don't mind, if you do, you don't have to, obviously, include where you're located geographically, at least the state, so that they can look at maybe the laws if they pertain to them. The other thing that I would say on the flip side of that, and by the way, this book right here is a must read with children, and I did a podcast about this. I'll link it in the comments in the descriptions of this video. It's a really well written, clean, simple, entertaining way of explaining to children what gaslighting looks like without necessarily using the term gaslighting. It helps them to be able to stand firm in what they know is the truth. It helps to build their confidence, and it gives them permission to not be blindly in agreement, I'm sweating, with adults just because they're adults. So it's a really important read to have around your house, to read with your kids, to have available to them to read when I'm melting, when they want to read it. I'm in Malta. It is hot and I forgot to turn on the air conditioner, so I will be doing that in a minute. Actually, I'm doing it now because I'm dying. It's not going to work fast enough. I am melting. Anyway, I didn't want to cut this video around just because I'm melting. I think it's a really important topic, and sue me, I'm human, I'm sweating. I'm perspiring, I'm a girl. Anyway, looking for resources, having good open communication, because what a lot of people don't understand with grandparents who are people who need an immense amount of control, right? Who want emotional control, who want to divide relationships. That's what makes them feel powerful. They don't understand the nuances of the language and the things that go on, and the very sideway kind of seeds of doubt that they plant in their grandchildren against their parents. I mean, my mother would say things like, in front of my daughter, did you clean her ears today? As if I wasn't capable of bathing her. Did you feed her today? As if the expectation was that I somehow was just going to starve her and overlook her. She would say things in front of my children, my daughter specifically, to make it seem like I had to be checked up on because I could not be trusted. She would treat my daughter and my son very differently. She adored my daughter and could care less if my son was even breathing. And it was very, very pronounced. And all of these things cause damage to children. All of these things make them question their reality. And if they feel like this love from this person and they're doing that, they can't differentiate between the love they feel for this person and their off behavior or bad behavior, because they're children. They're no match for this type of gaslighting and manipulation that they inflict upon the kids, right? And so as they're doing that in front of you, what they might do behind your back could be even worse. Oh, you got in trouble with mommy today? Mommy shouldn't have done that. Yeah, I wouldn't punish you that way. You know, that kind of thing. Very undermining, unhealthy practices that endear the children to them. I wouldn't do that to you. Your mom is bad, right? And then the next thing you know, there's this sort of thing where the child's looking at the mom like, you don't like me as much as grandma. And it sounds like almost benign. However, a child, when they look at their parents, should feel complete and total safety and the knowledge that their parent has their best interests at heart, even when they don't like what they're doing. Like in a healthy relationship, like if one of my grandkids came to me and said, I got grounded because, this, that, and mom's so mean, I wouldn't go, yeah, mom's so mean. I would go, well, what do you think you could do differently next time? It seems to me like you didn't do something you were supposed to do, and we'd have a talk about that. There would never be a moment where I undermine my daughter. Even if I don't agree with the grounding, I wouldn't let my grandkids see that, because I don't want to undermine her ability to create good structure for my grandchildren. So people don't understand that. People go, oh, but they buy them things and they do. No, this is not what grandparenting is about. This is not what parenting is about. Anybody out there who has an experience with this, please share it. P.S. My son-in-law did not bring my grandchildren to my mother. And as time has gone on, he's recognized that, she's a pretty bad role model, influence, all the things, and he doesn't have a desire to do it anymore, and that's a really good thing, because it's off the table now. In other situations it might be more difficult. So to just kind of recap, if you can have a talk and keep it on, well, how does this benefit our children? Not talking about the estranged grandparent, but rather really focusing on, okay, what do we want our children to learn? Where do we want their focus to be? What do they get from this? What do they lose from this? I think that's a very helpful approach, and it takes the power away from that other person that shouldn't have any power in the situation. If that's not a thing that is able to happen, then, reading that book, and it might not be so great for a 15-year-old child, for example, or a young person, child. 15-year-olds are children. All this correctness. Anyway, sorry, 15-year-olds, you're children. Not sorry. Having conversations after the visits, not interrogating, because they're getting that from the grandmother. More like, how are you feeling after visiting grandma? Are you good? Like, if you ever have any questions about why we're not speaking or what's going on here, I want you to ask me. I'm here for you. If they bring up topics like grandma said that you did this when you were a kid, because they will do that. They'll do this thing of, well, you should have seen how bad your mom was. I mean, my mother painted me as the devil to my daughter when she was in her young adulthood. It didn't work because she had already been raised by me. But in childhood, it might have had a very different impact. It's like, okay, well, yeah, if it's true, yeah, when I was a kid, there were some things that I did, and unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of structure in my life. Like, it could be that, grandma was out every night and I was just a little kid rocking this, whatever it is, be truthful around it without smear campaigning. You know what I'm saying? Like, being sensitive that you don't want to create a war with your children in the middle of them going back and forth and having these conversations. A really good rule of thumb before you offer that is to say, what do you think of that? What do you think of my mom talking about me that way? What do you think about your grandma talking about your mom that way? How does that make you feel? Asking questions so that your children can, one, learn to critically think, and two, so that you're not spoon feeding them how they should feel about something, but they're developing those feelings on their own. What that's going to translate to is that when they're exposed to people like your mother or your father, it could be anybody in the world who isn't a healthy person or who has some toxic behaviors, now they have some tools. You can use this as a teachable moment, or many teachable moments, if you're not able to create a boundary around that access in the first place. So I hope what I've offered here helps you, and I really look forward to seeing other people's experiences in the comment section, because this is a topic that is extremely important. We as parents are responsible, obviously, with my mother wasn't obvious, for keeping our children not just safe, but for teaching them what healthy love looks like, so that when they're growing, they're making good choices in relationships for themselves. Again, thanks for being here. I am cooling down, and I will see you soon.